Joining us now, Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. He's a member of the Foreign Relations and Judiciary Committees, and equally importantly, one of President Biden's closest allies from his days in the Senate and as vice president and as president. And I wonder what you thought of your friend and our president on the world stage this week.
Nicolle, I think President Biden did what he went to do, did what he needed to do. And I think what's unfolded today in Geneva shows us why we want a president with real experience. He's been preparing for today for 40 years. More importantly, he prepared all last week, the last week that he has spent in Western Europe with our closest allies, getting the wind behind his back so that he could go into the meeting with Vladimir Putin of Russia strong, with a clear message and a clear agenda.
What is the prospect of our country's ability to stop the cyber attacks that we've endured just since January? The first one that we knew about on the executive branch during that messy transition, the second one on the gas supply for the eastern U.S., and the third on our meat supply.
Well, frankly, going back to the 2016 election, when there was robust Russian interference in our domestic elections, we have needed to send a stronger, clearer message. And as President Biden just said in the clip that you showed a few moments ago, we have significant capabilities, both defensive and offensive, in the cyber realm that may well need to be deployed to push back hard on Russia. The SolarWinds hack that you're referencing, the ransomware attacks that were criminal but seem to have originated in Russia, both are very pointed, painful, recent reminders of the ways in which Putin and Putin's Russia are only going to stop when we stop them. And they've imposed similar costs, similar interference, both in elections and in the economy across many other Western and Central European countries. So we'd have the enthusiastic support of many of our allies in Europe if we did something in the cyber realm that was the equivalent of punching them in the nose or pushing them back to make it clear to Russia we know what they're doing and we're not going to tolerate it.
It's interesting that you raised the election attack in 2016. It's unfortunately not received a ton of attention today. I've watched a good bit of TV, but this was the first president who went in and seriously confronted Putin about it. I don't know if you remember that strange press avail with Trump and Putin, where a press person said to Trump, did you press him about election interference? He said, I pressed you about election interference. He basically did it as a joke because a reporter asked in front of the cameras. This was a president not just pressing Putin about election interference, but about election interference that sought to smear him and his family, that was so brazen it ran through a sitting U.S. senator, it ran through Rudy Giuliani, it ran through the whole apparatus of right-wing media. What do you think that was like for this president?
What do I think it was like for President Biden to have to endure those unjustified smears on his family? And what do I think it was like today when he sat down with Vladimir Putin and said, I see you and I know what you did? Look, President Biden, as senator and as vice president, had lots of experience sitting across the table from folks who needed to get a tough message from the United States. I'm confident he delivered one today. And I think the impact that it had on him personally may have given it just that extra little edge that's needed for it to be heard, believed, and responded to appropriately. But as we both know, I think we're talking about the same press conference. It was at the event in Helsinki that our friend, the late Senator John McCain, said it was just an appalling failure of leadership by President Trump to not strongly stand up for our democracy, to not call out Putin for his interference in our elections. I think, as you pointed out, President Biden knows full well what that kind of election interference, a disinformation campaign can lead to, and it's far past time, it's long past time for us to send an effective and strong signal to Putin to cut it out.
I don't want to make too much of this, but I just want to show you sort of a display of emotion, an exchange with a reporter that ended in an apology, and the reporter thanking the president for the apology. But let's just talk me through this. Let me show it first. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Why are you so confident he'll change his behavior, Mr. President?
Yeah, I'm not confident he'll change behavior. What the hell? What do you do all the time? So when did I say I was confident?
You said in the next 6 months you'll be able to determine.
What I said was, let's get it straight. I said what will change their behavior is that the rest of the world reacts to them and it diminishes their standing in the world. I'm not confident of anything. I'm just stating the fact.
The president went out of his way to apologize. That was Caitlin Collins, a reporter for CNN. He said, quote, "I owe my last questioner an apology. I shouldn't have been such a wise guy with the last answer I gave." She then responded, I just want to give our viewers the whole string of events here. Caitlin Collins then said, quote, "He did not have to apologize, though I do appreciate that," adding that asking the president a question does not mean it has a negative slant or a positive slant. This seems like if you know President Biden, you know the different sides of him coming back and sort of defending his position. But it also is so different to sort of come out and say, I was too hot, and apologize moments later.
Absolutely. One of the things I have always respected about President Biden is that he treats people with kindness, with decency, with respect. He knew that it had been a long meeting. He'd had hours. He'd done a long press conference. And as he was walking off, that hit him the wrong way, and he came back and gave a somewhat sharp retort. But frankly, I think he was clarifying his statement in a not inappropriate way. But if you contrast his actions with his predecessor in terms of then promptly apologizing to the reporter and saying, you know, maybe I was just a little too hot, I just think that is yet another demonstration of Joe's basic decency, of President Biden's basic normalcy, his kindness. He knows when maybe he's been just a little sharper than he needed to. And I think this simple sign of respect and decency towards our press is particularly important. We live in a world where the press is under assault in so many ways across so many countries, and we all know that in Russia, press freedom is under sustained and aggressive assault, and there are many ways in which under the previous administration there was a combative and hostile and sometimes personally critical relationship with the press. President Biden is trying to show a different approach and a different standard. And I think today he made the right decision in having a separate press briefing after the hours-long meeting with President Putin in order to not give President Putin a chance to put his own spin on it or to say things that didn't actually happen in the meeting, as did occur in previous summits. So I think President Biden handled himself very well and once again showed his basic decency.
Senator Chris Coons, it's always great to talk to you, especially on a day like today. Thank you for making some time to talk to us today.